Iguodala. Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. Curry, one-on-one. Irving puts it up. It's good. Kyrie Irving from downtown. The three, steps back, crossover, puts up a three. Rebound James. Second. It's over. It's over. Cleveland is a city of champions once again. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.
Cleveland, this is for you.
Good evening and welcome to another episode of the Block the Shot the Stop. Here with Skylar Webker, I'm Kevin Lynch, and let's just say it first. Please be okay, Evan Mobley.
Oh my goodness. The fact that he didn't come back out for the second half of the game could be precautionary.
Yeah.
Let's hope it is. But it still sucks.
Everything about it seems precautionary. Like if it was that bad, he wouldn't have kept going on it in the first half. And you know, they've played so much basketball lately. And, you know, coming off of a back-to-back after playing like every other day for the last couple of weeks, and you're about to have a five day break, which is their biggest break of the season. Everything about it screams like there's no reason to push this. Let's just sit him down, try and win this game without him, and then get everybody some rest before Friday.
Yeah, I also think kind of doing the scoreboard watching for some of the other teams, like the Celtics lost last night, the Nuggets lost last night, the Thunder lost I think the Thunder lost last night. I think if those teams all won, they might have pushed it just to stay in first in the East and just to keep that room. But yeah, outside of that, I think precautionary. Let's just get healthy. Let's get out of Miami healthy, and get back into it come Friday.
For sure. And so all that, I guess we should set it up. The Cavs lose to the Miami Heat tonight, 122-113. This was a game that the Heat kind of got out in front and kind of stayed there, but the Cavs stayed within striking distance. You kept thinking they were going to make a run. Obviously, huge storyline is Evan Mobley doesn't come out for the second half. But despite that, the Cavs did make a run in the fourth quarter. I think they got it to 3 on Mitchell's three-point play. And like many times in the NBA, you see these huge comebacks and fruitless because you can't get over the hump. And that's usually not the Cavs, but tonight it was.
Yeah, especially, when you have Tyler Hero shooting as well as he did tonight, that makes him pretty hard to beat. That's for sure.
Yeah, it was. So like all things being considered, you never want to lose a game in the NBA. Obviously, the Cavs went a long time without losing any games. But this is one, Skylar, if I'm being honest, I'm not totally shocked they lost this game. I didn't think it'd be, you never anticipate an injury, that Mobley would be out and everything, but they just played so much basketball. And human nature, you're about to have, your longest break of the season so far. I don't want to blame the Cavs, say they were looking ahead or anything, but I just think they kind of look like a worn out team tonight, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, especially the second night of a back-to-back, where the Hornets, though that game was awesome, I had the updates inside of church whenever it was at a wedding yesterday. So I was just kind of getting the updates going along. But that game was awesome. But the Hornets team can run on you. They can wear you out.
From the score, and especially if you only were watching the first part of the game, you might have thought that was an easier game yesterday. But the Hornets fought back, and the game actually got quite intense, and kind of like the inverse of tonight, where the Cavs had to lead the whole game, but the Hornets kept coming back and almost, tying it or taking the lead, and the Cavs had to kind of fight them off. Some guys played bigger minutes last night. I want to say Mitchell and Mobley both were at 36 minutes. A couple other guys were well over 30. And so it wasn't quite the, nice, easy win you would like against a team again, of the Hornets record, the first game of a back-to-back. You'd have preferred they kind of run away with it after dominating the first quarter, but it didn't happen. They still got the win. And then, tonight, as you said, we'll talk about the game a little bit, and we're going to talk plenty about the Cavs, but we will kind of talk about it from the Heat side for a moment. You mentioned it. Tyler Hero, 34 points, 31 of those in the first 3 quarters when they're really stretching out the lead. he was phenomenal. Duncan Robinson wasn't that far behind between the two of them. They hit 9 threes, had 57 points. Those guys are a tough matchup because of their ability to shoot and stretch the floor. And we're talking about a Cavs team with maybe tired legs and everything. Their kind of offensive explosion kind of dictated the game tonight.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I also think the Cavs did a decent job keeping Jimmy Butler and Bam quiet, even though Bam still had a double-double, and their plus minuses showed they've really had a positive impact on the game. You know that those guys can go out and, I mean, especially Jimmy. When he turns it on, he can drop 50 on you.
Yeah. And Jimmy did a lot of playmaking tonight. He only had 5 assists, but I thought he had a lot of hockey assists. Penetrated kicks. The pass before the pass that gets the assist, kind of thing.
Right.
I still wish basketball had a stat for that. Maybe they do. Super advanced stuff to look at. Look at Next Gen or something. But yeah, you're right. Jimmy was very solid tonight, and you get the outside shooting going like the Heat did. They made, I think, 16 threes. Just a tough matchup for the Cavs. And the Heat are such a physical team. And playing a physical team on the second night of a back-to-back, on the end of a long stretch of every other day games, again, sometimes they call it in the NBA, sometimes you say schedule losses, and I wouldn't have necessarily said this was a schedule loss, but it was kind of one step down from that.
They could afford to lose this game.
Yeah, they could afford to lose it, and it was a tough spot. The Heat were in a advantageous place with being home and with the style of play that they have, and they haven't played quite as much as the Cavs have lately. I, again, went into this one, thought it could be tough, but there were some positives that come out of this game. And let's talk about some of those, because, somebody said I was a naysayer online. So I'm going to start, I'm going to shift into the positive. The number one positive for me, Skylar, is the bench had one of their best games in a long time. And they obviously needed it with Mobley going down. Some guys got increased minutes, but the Cavs bench outscored Miami 57-31, which is a really high scoring game for the bench. Again, we had Mobley out, but key contributions from some guys that have made contributions along the season, but we hadn't gotten as much from lately, or at least multiple bench guys having good games at the same time. They had 4 guys off the bench, all in double figures. LeVert, Niang, Merrill, and our guy TJ Maxx. Niang in particular I thought he had a really strong game. Tough defensive matchup for him, but he scrambled, he hit a lot of big shots, and I just like the way the bench contributed tonight, especially because they were called on to.
Exactly. You guys pointed it out last game, how the bench kind of had limited opportunities with Mobley just taking over. Yeah. With Mobley being out the second half of the game, they had a lot more opportunities. Georges Niang actually led the team tonight in plus minus. Yeah. The positive effect player on the floor for the Cavs. So yeah, a lot of just good contributions between all of them. Like you said, TJ Maxx has been kind of, I don't want to say struggling, but not like what we saw before.
Right.
So it's good to see him kind of build back up. Seeing Merrill kind of start to get his rhythm back.
Yeah.
I know he was only 2 for 5 up from 3, but that's better than some of the nights that we were getting from him.
Right.
I want to bring this up. Are we worried about Darius Garland 3-point shooting? Because it seems to have taken a nosedive over the last couple of games.
I'm not, because he was so far ahead of his skis going into these last couple games. And you're right. This past week, 3-point shooting not as well. Still having a lot of good games, but a lot more of that coming, on drives and in the paint than before. A lot of the good 3-point shooting. I think that's something, if it continues for another couple weeks, if it continues through the end of December, I'll start worrying then. But he was probably at a higher percentage than you would expect him to. I mean, he was up to 45-46%. And for a point guard that shoots as many difficult 3-point shooters as he does, I didn't expect him to be there. Anything over 40% on the year from him, I'd be ecstatic. So it's a short enough timeline. I'm not worried about it. So, like Tim says, monitor it, but not quite worth getting worried about. What about you?
I've been monitoring it because tonight 2 for 6. I think the night before he was 2 for 7.
Mm-hmm.
I think the night before was something similar to that too. Just not great numbers. But I think you're right. I think he started the season way hotter from 3-point shooting perspective, and now starting to come back down to earth.
Yeah, I mean, I just looked it up here. He's 8 for 28 his last 4 games. Which is, if my math is right, about 30, in the 30% ish, and that's coming off of a guy who's previous to that shooting 45+% from the field. So we could say
28.5%.
There you go. So, but turning it on positive, he still had pretty good, solid contributions in those games that I liked. He had, 5 assists, 3 of those games. He still scored 18 or more the last 3 games, despite some bad 3-point shooting. He was getting, he got to the line about 4 times a game. So, it's because he's still contributing other ways, and because it's really about a 4-game skid. It just, when it's 4 consecutive games, it kind of like looks worse than it is. I'll tell you what, like when they're going to get some really good rest over the next 10 days, 12 days or so. They only play 2 games the next 12 days. Hopefully it's more a tired legs thing than anything else.
That would be great, because they're going to need that outside shot when they go into playoff time, especially against Boston, or we'll see if Orlando can rebound their season after losing Franz Wagner.
There you go.
Many Christmas. And I'm German, so after losing him for an extended period of time, they're definitely gonna need that from him. But I want to say he still has the best floater in the game. Every time he takes those one-footed floater shots, you're like, oh, that's easy buck money right there.
I'm always super hesitant to say anyone is the best thing in the game, but it's very pretty, and it's certainly up there. I mean, with Kyrie's is still amazing, even at his age, and it's been good for a long time. And there's several other guys, but having a shorter point guard such as Darius Garland, who can make that floater and just with the perfect amount of arc and everything, it really is a thing of beauty. So I will give it. He definitely has a beautiful one. My one concerning thing, Skylar, that the trend has gone on a little bit longer than the Garland 3-point shooting, is kind of lack of scoring we've been getting out of Jared Allen for going on a month now. Tonight, another 6-point game. I think more than 50% of the games last month, he hasn't gotten to double figures. He's averaging about like 11 a game. At first we kind of wrote it off as Mobley's ascending. He's getting more points and Allen's doing more of the dirty work. And I think that's true to a point. But at some point, for this Cavs team to be the best version of itself, they need Jared Allen in that double-double range, 12 to 15 points, around 10 plus rebounds. And they're not quite getting that from him. Like, what have you seen as far as Jared Allen goes these last few weeks versus, really, if you're splitting the season so far in half, like it was almost 2 different players the first month or the first 3 to 4 weeks versus the last 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah, he's been very inconsistent past couple of games. I mean, not even just the scoring numbers, but even like the rebounding numbers.
Mm-hmm.
That game against I have it pulled up now. The game against Boston was 10 rebounds, 8 points. Then the Wizards, 3 rebounds, 11 points. Denver, 15 and 8. Charlotte, 10 and 11. Tonight, 7 and 6. So they're not even the offensive numbers from him. They're not even getting the rebounding numbers that we need from him.
Not as consistent. Not as consistently for sure. And Jared Allen's still averaging almost 14 points, almost 11 rebounds a game, that's probably pretty close to what we would have expected from him. If you told me before the season, I would have guessed around 15 points and 10, 11 rebounds. And so he's in that ballpark. He's just done it like in very different way, where he would look to be maybe the best basketball of his life the first few weeks of the season.
Yeah.
And now it's tailed off a little. And, you use the word inconsistent. Jared Allen, that's not a word you use very often about him, and you wouldn't use it on a lot of the other parts of his game. He still plays very effective defending the paint and defending the rim. He still makes a lot of the hustle plays. He's still contributing. It's just this Cavs team, again, to be the best version of himself, they need him closer to that 15 plus points a game, and then getting those double-digit rebounds.
Yeah, and even I'm just going through his stats now because you got me in a rabbit hole. It seems like ever since the 2 consecutive losses to Atlanta is really when things started getting rocky for him. I mean, even just he's got 1 block shot since those losses to Atlanta.
Yeah, and the first time I noticed it was in those Atlanta games. They reduced his minutes a little bit. Like he was kind of in line with the other 3 of the big 4, right? They're all in the 32-ish minutes a game on average. What seems like those guys are still there or have even ticked up in some games. Like I've been noticing Mitchell and Mobley particularly getting up over 35, 36 minutes a game, where Jared's been coming back down. Like I look at like half of the last 10 games, he hasn't broken 30 minutes. And I at first thought like the Hawks, that might be a matchup thing because the Hawks play so many wings that maybe we wanted to go with one big man because that, like I said, that's where I noticed it at first. But I think they need to get back to playing Allen his typical like rotations, getting him around that 32 plus minutes and trying to feature him a little bit on offense, not necessarily going to throw it to him in the post, but a lot of those pick and rolls, the penetration and dish stuff that, he was getting, lots of dunks, lots of short flow, little short hook shots and everything. I want to see him get back to that because the one thing you and I talked about on a pod several weeks ago, but that we love that Kenny Atkinson does is like these are our strengths. We're going to play to those instead of adjusting what the other team's doing. Yeah, and not that we're not doing that, but I think he has started to adjust a little bit to the opponents. And Jared Allen's minutes and the way they use him is probably the number one way I see it. I want to get back to just using Jared Allen the exact same way they did those first 4 weeks when he was really excelling.
I wonder how much of that is the league adjusting to the Cavs. They know that we have 2 big men, so they're going to try to do everything they can to at least stifle one of them.
Right.
I don't know if maybe it's just the way that the league is adjusting to us. And now Kenny has to figure out something else because having Allen out there just getting hacked at and double teamed pretty much consistently in the paint. How much of that is kind of a result of just the league figuring out some stuff about the Cavs?
Sure. I think that's true. And I think that's why it was something I noticed, but I don't even think I brought it up on the pod until tonight, because without Mobley playing the second half, you would have thought Allen, they would go to him a little bit more on rolling to the basket and looking for him there. And for him to only average 6 points, him to only get 28 minutes in a game where Evan Mobley doesn't play the second half. Tonight is the first time I would say I've just ticked the slightest bit from monitoring into worried and really want the Cavs to do whatever they need to do to try and bring him back to where he was playing. Like I said, that first 4 to 5 weeks of the season, he was so good. And it's been about the last, I don't know, eight games or so that it's really, his averages have really dropped across the board.
Yeah. I'm curious as to how that's going to play in effect once we get guys fully healthy, because we saw tonight how to start the third quarter, Kenny Atkinson went small ball. He went Georges Niang. Allen wasn't even out there to start the third quarter. No, he
wasn't. It was Dean Wade and Georges was the front court, basically.
Right. So I wonder how that much is going to change if Kenny's says he needs to go small ball, and he has Max Strus and Isaac Okoro at his disposal.
Right. And I'm all for, playing to the matchup, but like using your strengths against the matchup. I don't want this Cavs team. They are 21-4 after tonight. So they've been doing plenty of things extremely well. Just keep doing what you're doing. And I just want to, like I said, I think they're not. I think whether it's on Jarrett or Kenny Atkinson or the team or whatever, I just don't think they're maximizing Jarrett Allen the way they were, because I think he is a truly very good player. I mean, you remember Darius Garland was hyping him up as an all-star and a top 5 center in the league and all this kind of stuff those first few weeks. I think he can be that if he plays to his potential and they set him up the way he needs to be set up, because he's not a guy you clear out for, right? You use him within the flow of your offense. And I have said for a few weeks that they've gotten a little bit away from the pick and roll to the basket, hitting him and Mobley on the roll and having those like thunderous dunks that they were having so many of to start the year. Again, like not overly concerned, because you shouldn't be overly concerned about a team who only has 4 losses in December. But just something I'm kind of monitor, especially this is a good time to for the Cavs to reset. They might have some of their, first real practices in a long time, because they've been playing so many games. I've been sure they've been doing walkthroughs and shoot arounds and stuff like that. They may actually get a chance to have some practices over the next couple of weeks, and maybe whether it's adjustments they need to make or the adjustment is to get back to more of what they were doing earlier in the season. I'll be really interested. And like over this long break, we could see Max Strus back. It sounds like it's coming sooner or later. He's now taking contact. He's doing full courts, and so you would think we're going to start seeing appearances for him in the near future.
Yeah, I hope so. And with getting this extra break because of the cup and everything like that, that's going to help. Like you said, they can reset. They could go in and do a little more film room, do a little more practice, more than just a walkthrough. And then if you look ahead, the next 5 games are against the Wizards, the Nets, Milwaukee, and Philly, and Utah. So those are 5, fledgling teams.
Yeah.
So you feel good getting an extended break and then getting to ramp up with, not top tier competition.
Yeah.
Before you get into your gauntlet of Denver, Golden State, LA, Dallas, Oklahoma.
Yeah, of those 5, you would think they have a great matchup against, I would say 4 of the 5. Milwaukee is certainly rounding into form and playing much better, but Milwaukee is a team that a lot of people think could make a run in the NBA Cup, and they might be coming off of that, and they might have tired legs. Like it's funny. I speculated this because I'm forever a conspiracy theorist that in the future, NBA teams with title aspirations may tank their chances of getting into the cup as a chance to kind of reset and everything.
Yeah.
And while I definitely don't think the Cavs did that, they might be the first experiments of a team that is a true contender with title aspirations, that they're probably the only one that's not in the cup, and they are going to get an extended break. And they, like you said, 2 games over 12 days, and both of them against teams in the bottom of the Eastern Conference, and so you would think this would be a really great chance to reset. They're at the bottom of the Eastern Conference because the tickets are going for $12 and $9 for those.
Yeah, I mean it's a good plan, honestly. Like if you're not worried about the cup and the cup money, which I think these guys are. I think you said it before. Like LeBron took it serious the first year, so now everybody's taking it seriously.
Yeah.
But if you can't be in it, I think a nice consolation is the extended time off, because then you get this week off plus the week off for All-Star break or All-Star. So you kind of get like 2 extended periods now in your season where you can just rest your legs, get guys, healthy, get just a little more breathing room within your season.
Yeah, you're all. That's exactly what I was thinking. Is you're almost adding a second All-Star break. You're adding a break after roughly the first 2 months, but for 7 weeks of the season, you're getting a break, and then 7 weeks later, you get another break with the All-Star
Yeah.
So, I hope so. I do think this Cavs team, while they've managed the minutes, their guys have overall, when you look at the team, been remarkably healthy. Of the big four, I think Jared Allen's played every game. I think Mobley, Garland, and Mitchell have all only missed one. Levert's missed a little time, Wade's missed a little time, but pretty much everyone else has been available just about every night. And I think this, I really think this could end up being one of those blessing in disguise type things for the Cavs. And maybe that's me being in denial because I would love to see them in the NBA Cup. So maybe I'm just trying to put a positive spin on it.
Well, yeah, I mean, they everybody has played basically every game. Like you said, Mitchell had one night off, Garland had a night off, and Mobley had a night off. And Levert's missed some time, and Merrill's missed some time, and Dean Wade, I guess, has missed some time. Now that I keep talking, saying more players, like more people. I think Georges Niang has played every single game.
But like having 4-star players and them only missing 3 games combined at this point in the season is an anomaly in today's NBA. And I do think, there's all kinds of people who will get in great arguments, which you won't want to hear about, today's game versus game in the past. Like, I do think today's game, if nothing else, is it moves faster and everyone's so athletic that there's more injury risk. I truly do believe in today's NBA than if you watch, as nostalgic as everyone is for the 90s, if you watch one of those games, they walk the ball up the court and then everyone except for the guy with the ball in his hand is kind of standing still. There's a reason those games were 85-79. So all that being said, I think the Cavs have been really, the Cavs and the Celtics are the two teams that have been pretty healthy for the most part and just kind of been able to keep everybody there pretty much every game, just manage your minutes a little bit. And yeah, I'm definitely excited. I'm excited for us to have a week off. It's a great week for you to have off because you're moving. It's a great week for me to be off. Maybe I can get the last of these boxes unpacked. All this to say, we don't have a ton to preview, but I guess this is a good moment before we wrap up to just kind of recap where we are since we're going to be in the break. The Cavs are now 21-4. I'm right about that, right? 21-4. 21-4 after 25 games. So we're coming up on a third of the way through the season. We did this after the Hawks loss and everything. Tim and I did. You can't feel a whole lot better realistically about the Cavs than you do right now. Most likely Evan Mobley is going to be fine. Everyone else is healthy. They're at first place in the Eastern Conference. Let tonight go and just say we're in about as good a position as we could have realistically imagined to be.
Yeah. I mean, let's just say they win their next 5 games because those are all winnable games.
Yeah.
You feel really good about 26-4 in the first 30 games of the season.
Yeah. No, you for sure do. And we speculate about this a little bit on the pod. And so about teams, the Cavs are now in a place where teams are giving them their best shot because they, everybody looks at the standings. Everyone knows about how the Cavs started the season, where they are right now, that they've been wire to wire in first place. So what I've been doing this last week or so, I bet when I get on NBA TV for at least part of the game, I listen to the other team's announcers because I'm curious about how they talk about the Cavs. And you could see tonight, and I apologize, I don't know their names, but the Heat's announcers were getting so excited that the Heat were beating the Cavs. It's telling you how the respect around the league, the Cavs are getting respect around the league.
Good. It's about time.
Yeah.
They're not getting respect in a lot of people's power rankings.
Bleacher Report. That's the media respect. I care way less about media respect and then the respect that the other teams and the other people around those teams, such as the broadcasting crew, give them. I think everyone knows. I mean, I'm an avid Bill Simmons listener, and he's been very adamant about like the Cavs are the biggest threat to my Celtics, or his Celtics.
Yeah.
And second place isn't that close. That's where I'm looking right now. I think they're very much for real. And I'm glad that is the case. But with that comes teams giving you their best shot, and you have to be on your game every night. And the Cavs, with a couple exceptions, have been this season, and it's been really fun to watch. And I think we're gonna have a nice little break. Like you said, the schedule's set up pretty well for the next 2 or 3 weeks, and then come the end of this month, and then we're going to get back into a real grind like we had been the last I don't know, 10 or 12 games.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to talk about before we got out of here was I listened to Brian Windhorst was on I don't know if it was Cleveland ESPN or the Ultimate Cleveland Show, something like that. And just kind of, they were just talking about like, what can the Cavs do, or like, what are the Cavs plans to improve this team? And he brought up a good point of probably nothing. Just the way that the luxury tax works now, especially for repeat offenders, like they would likely do nothing this year to get under the tax, because before Donovan Mitchell and Jared Allen and Evan Mobley's extension kick in, that would set them up that would give them 3 or 4 more years of flexibility, versus if you kind of push all your chips in now, because then you'll get that repeat offender tax. And that's basically why the Clippers are terrible now, is because they had repeat offenders tax and couldn't afford to keep anybody.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting thought, because if you want to keep the core of this team together, which you certainly do, you can only be in the second apron, as they call it, for so long, realistically. And so that's not to say they wouldn't do anything, maybe something on the margins, or, look for one maybe role player that complements the team that they already have or something. But as far as big moves, you're probably right. But like, you spoiled it, and it's not official, so I won't get too into it. But I'm actually was talking to somebody who is more of like a salary cap expert, because I am not. And I wanted to have them come on the show, because I'm very interested in that. What can the Cavs do, and what if they do? How does it affect next year and the years beyond and everything? I think that's something we could look at, because the team, again, 21-4, which means they are built incredibly well for the regular season. They may just need to, fine tune the roster a little bit, especially, I still think the biggest thing that they need like a big wing, or a guy who can like masquerade as who's a power forward, who can masquerade as a center or small forward if they need to, and particularly as a really good like defender to match up against some of these teams with really good wings. I mean, we've seen them struggle with the Hawks. Obviously, we've seen the Celtics guys have big games against them. I think we maybe need one more defender to match up with in matchup
tonight's
like
Heat
that.
game. Their forward Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero were the ones that went off, and I know Tyler Hero is like a 2, kind of 3. He kind of swings both on that.
And we should have mentioned that with Isaac Okoro being out tonight, he was the best guy to defend Tyler Hero or Duncan Robinson,
he would have been,
for that matter, and probably, especially Mobley being out, probably would have played big minutes, and you would think could have contributed something defensively that maybe would have changed at least the flow of the game, if not the outcome. So with that, Skylar, I think we've covered this game. Let's put this one to bed. Let's all take a nice break, spend some time with your families. Like if there's other sports that you want to watch this week, go ahead, but just make sure to tune back in by Friday. They got the Wizards, which is a great team to start another winning streak against. So
absolutely.
All right. Well, for Skylar Webker, I'm Kevin Lynch. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Block, the Shot, the Stop.
Go Cavs.